Welcome everyone to another video. A lot of people were asking me, how did you buy these cars? How much did you pay? And today I'm going to tell you more. So let's start with the Lupo 3L. I wanted to have the very first version of the Lupo 3L after I was doing the research and the videos about its history. And I wanted to have a silver 1999 Lupo 3L, which is the most extreme version with the battery still in front, the ballast weight under the rear bumper, with the small mirrors, with the old shifter. And I wanted to have it in silver, so exactly how it was presented back in the day. The problem with this is that it's the oldest version, so probably it's worn out the most, and you also get all the problems of the first version, so potential problems hadn't been fixed yet. And another problem is that a lot of people don't really understand what this car is. So for car guys, it's great because it's amazing what VW has been doing here. And if you want to learn more about that, check out my part 1 video about this, where I explain everything about its history. But for a lot of people, it's just a small city car with automatic gearbox. And that's exactly how this car has been treated. So this particular car has been running in Hamburg for all its life until I was buying it. And it was really just treated as a small, cheap city car with automatic gearbox. So it hasn't been looked after very well. It was not serviced to like all the due dates, and yeah, just not at VW, just at some workshops that didn't really know what this car is. If any parts had to be changed, they changed it for normal Lupo parts, but not Lupo 3L parts. And then in the end, the previous owner had a lot of problems with the car, with the gearbox in particular. They tried to fix the gearbox, so they bonded the case of the gearbox because this old bearing came through, like you could see in my other parts. And then this previous owner was just selling it to a scrapyard. And the scrapyard was already starting to take the car apart and sell the parts of it. And this is when the owner previous to me was buying the car, because he was looking for a cheap city car for his mom and with automatic gearbox. And he didn't really understand what this car was. He just saw small car, automatic gearbox, great, I can get it for less money. And he was fixing it to a point where he could get TÜV again. And then in the end he still had a lot of problems with the car. More and more issues came up, Lupo 3L specific stuff, and in the end he advertised it for 2,900 euro, where a normal Lupo 3L with around 200,000 kilometers would be like 4,000 euro. So it was already a bit cheaper. And this is when I saw the advertisement. Like I said, it was exactly the car I wanted, a silver 1999 Lupo 3L. And the car didn't look too bad on the pictures. I called the guy, he told me the car is in great shape. I drove there, and when I came there, the condition was just awful. It was really bad. Even the roof was rusty, scratches all around the car. There was even some rust or oxidation there, and dents all over the car, and yeah, really bad condition. Also the gearbox already made noise, it didn't drive too well at the beginning, and yeah, lots of issues. And he just wanted this car to be gone because he was working on normal Lupos and he didn't have a clue about the Lupo 3L, and it was too complicated and parts were too expensive for him, and he bought another car for his mom in the end. So anyway, I really wanted this car, even though the condition was really bad. So I talked him down to around 2,000 euro, and this is how I bought the car. So around 2,000 euro, and with a lot of issues. Like I said, I had to swap the gearbox shortly after, because at the first test drive one of the gearbox bearings yeah, fell apart, so which you could hear in my other parts. But now it's a really nicely driving car. It's really cool, it makes a lot of fun, and it also revolutionized my mobility, to be honest, because I have 4 seats, I have a trunk, and I have a fuel consumption right now of around 3.5 liters of diesel, because the tires are not the correct ones, it's not the correct size, they're too wide, and they're also winter tires. But it's just running well. I did a big service of it, and I will do a separate video explaining to you exactly what did I do on this Lupo so far to fix everything. But I'm driving it pretty often now, I could almost say daily, and it's just great. So a tech marvel that really works even after 26 years, but you need to care for it. And now let's talk about how I bought my VW Phaeton. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with buying luxury cars for little money, but it's always an adventure, at least for me. I also had an Audi A8 before. It was a similar story where I had to deal with some interesting people. There were some interesting stories about the car, and it was no different to my Phaeton. So when I came back to Germany, so because I was living in the UK for 5 years, working in Formula 1, and when I came back to Germany, I wanted to have a nice car which can do everything. So I wanted to be able to do long trips fairly quickly. I wanted to be able to pull huge trailers, and I also wanted to have a comfortable car and safe car. So that's why I wanted to buy a VW Phaeton, also because I worked in the Phaeton production a couple of years ago, and yeah, it was always on my list. So I was looking for a black VW Phaeton, a 3-liter TDI. And the cars that I liked were pretty far away from me. So I'm in the Berlin area, but the cars were in Hamburg, Munich, or in the Düsseldorf area. So on the other end of Germany from my side. And there was one Phaeton advertised just half an hour away from me. And it was advertised in a strange way because it only said VW Phaeton. There was no specifics on the car. So it didn't tell me which engine. It only showed pictures from far away and very bad quality. And you could see that the car is very dirty, and it's also kind of disassembled because there were parts missing inside, and so covers were missing, and it was really dirty and a lot of rubbish inside. And also it was on strange rims, so I didn't recognize these rims. I thought these are some cheap, small aftermarket rims. And in the end I decided I just call the guy. So in the advertisement, no data about the car whatsoever. It only said, if you want to know anything about this car, call this number. So I called this number, and it turned out to be a Croatian scrapyard, so in Germany. And this Croatian guy told me the story of the car, and he said the problem of this car is it had been confiscated by the police because his friend, who's the owner of the car, was smuggling goods from East Europe to Germany, so throughout whole Europe, with this car. So the police caught him, confiscated this Phaeton, and he was sent back home to Serbia. And now he, as his friend, the Croatian scrapyard dealer, had to sell this car for him. And he didn't really know much about the car. That's why he didn't put a lot of information in the advertisement, and he just wanted this car to be gone. And I looked at the car. It was really in awful condition. Like I said, super dirty, lots of rubbish. The police has been disassembling the car inside to find any more stuff that they have been smuggling. There was East European money of different countries all over the car, in every ashtray and in every gap. There were receipts, there was lots of rubbish everywhere, and it was super dirty inside. It was some kind of jelly all over the floor mats and on the leather seats, and I don't really want to know what kind of parties they were celebrating in this car, but it has seen a lot. The thing about this car was that it was always in the same area, so always in the Berlin area, and it had been looked after okay, I would say. So it has seen the normal service, but not at VW, at some low-cost car workshops like Pit Stop or ATU or something like this. So they have done service on the car, but not at VW. And I was assessing the car, and I thought, okay, it's dirty, it's disassembled, but the overall technical basis is actually pretty okay. It's pretty good. It's exactly the car that I wanted, because I was working at the VW factory producing the Phaeton at the end of 2007. This car was produced at the beginning of 2008, so I almost built my own car. So I almost built this car, and I knew exactly what trim I wanted. And I wanted to have the black Phaeton, short wheelbase, 5-seater, and I wanted to have this brown leather seats inside with the black trim. And it was exactly the options that I wanted. And it has almost all options on this one, so which is great. And the previous owner, who was caught by the police, only owned the car for 6 weeks, I think. So only within the 6 weeks this car had a difficult history, and the rest of it was pretty okay. So I thought, you know what, because of the bad condition, I will talk this guy down and I will buy this car. So he advertised the car for 5,900 euro. In the end, we agreed on 4,800 euro for this Phaeton, because he just wanted this car to be gone from a scrapyard. And you can imagine this picture. So I come there, and lots of crashed, broken old cars, and in the middle of it is this dirty, disassembled Phaeton. When I say disassembled, it was disassembled inside, so covers were missing. Outside it was like now, just dirty. And then I asked the guy, do you have some summer tires for this? Because I really wanted to have these Helios rims that you see on here. And if I couldn't buy it with the car, I would have bought them separately. And he said, yeah, there was something about summer tires. Wait a minute. And then from one of these scrapyard cars, one of these crashed cars next to the Phaeton, he suddenly pulled out 4 large bags, and these were the Helios rims. So exactly the rims that you can see here now, also in bad condition, so they were also scratched, but they were not cracked, and it was okay, so you could drive them. Also the tires on there were super cheap, some worn out cheap brand, so nothing really you want on a Phaeton, but they were there and I could have them. And after we agreed on the price, he pulled these bags out and he said, you can just have them, no problem. So for no additional price, I got these rims as well, because usually one of these rims back in the day costed more than 1,200 euro, one of them. And I bought the whole car with the rims and everything for 4,800. So in the end, I bought the car. We did a contract with each other, and we just wanted to sign the contract. He said, you know what, can we change the price in the contract? So you still give me the 4,800, but you just give me 3,800. And I said, you know, I don't really care, I just want to buy the car. I don't really care what you're doing here with this, and I don't really need this contract. So in the end, he wanted me to put in 3,800 in the contract, so 1,000 euro less, so he can tell his friend who was back in Serbia that he only sold the car for 1,000 euro less, and he put the 1,000 euro in his own pocket. So these are the kind of friends you want, right? And these are the kind of people you deal with when you buy these cars, sometimes, but at least in my experience. So in the end, I got the car, I drove off the yard, and I also couldn't really test drive the car. That was another thing. So he said, you can't drive this car out, you can only drive it here on the scrapyard. So I just drove a little bit back and forth, tested the steering, engine, gearbox a little bit, as far as I could do it there, up to 30 kilometers per hour or something. And in the end, when I drove off the scrapyard, I could already hear such a ticking noise. So, and I knew, okay, I guess I have a flat spot, because there was a screw or a nail in one of the tires from the scrapyard. And this is how I drove home, half an hour home. The pressure alarm already came on and said, you have a leak in one of your tires. Yeah, so that was my first drive with the Phaeton. I arrived at home, sorted out the tires, and then I took 2 days to put everything back together. So when I viewed the car, I could already see that all the covers that were missing were somewhere in the car. And I could basically find everything again. So for example, the buttons for the rear seat heating, they were gone, and I found them in the trunk. and some other covers were in the footwell, or they were in the door pockets, or everywhere in this car were covers, were parts of the interior, and also parts, sensors, lights were just hanging down on the cable. And in the end I figured I can find everything here again and I can put this car back together. And that's in the end what I did. So I took 2 days to fully clean this car, inside, outside, serviced it, put everything back together, and this is the Phaeton that I still have today. So I hope you liked this little insight, and as you can see, it's not very expensive to buy these cars, but especially for luxury cars for little money, sometimes there are some adventurous stories. And also, if a car is misunderstood, you sometimes need to put in a bit more work to make a nice car out of it again. So stay tuned for more content on these 2 cars, and see you at the next video.